We're here. This episode is going to be a State of the Union on fighting sports. So this is a podcast all about pretty much MMA, boxing, and kickboxing. So because it's TKO podcast. I gotta talk about fighting some. So I haven't been talking about it in recent pods. So I was like, I'm just gonna do a podcast and just fucking air it out, dog. So just letting you know up front, if you're not into fighting, go fucking listen to an audiobook or something, you fucking nerd. Because we're talking about fights right now. All right. So before I get into that, I'll just talk about fuck it, we'll just get right into it. I can circle back and bullshit with you guys later. But basically, I'll start with Glory Kickboxing. Okay. The only thing that's really exciting going on in Glory Kickboxing right now is the heavyweight Grand Prix that's been going on. It started at 32, I think. I think it started with 32. 32 heavyweights that fought twice, and the winners advanced. So now it's down to 8. Went from 32 to 16 to 8. And next month, the top 8 are going to fight it out for on June 13th, 2025 in the Netherlands. It's Glory 100. It's their 100th pay-per-view, I guess. And so the 8 heavyweights that are still in the Grand Prix tournament are going to fight twice. They're going to fight it's a 2-day event. So it's going to be on June 13th and 14th. So they'll fight once on the 13th, and then the winners fight again on the next day. So that's going to be cool. There's also UFC on the second day in Atlanta, which maybe I'll go to. I don't know. I'm not sure. I was kind of hoping for a better card, but maybe I'll just stay home and watch Glory and the UFC. I don't think the ticket price is worth the main event. The main event's pretty tight. It's Kamaru Usman versus Joaquin Buckley, but I just wish the rest of the card was better. It is what it is. But so out of the Glory heavyweight tournament, the ones that I've really been keeping an eye on are Tariq Cookie Osaro. To me, is top dog. I think he's probably the best in it. Bahram Rajabzadeh, he's pretty good too. But and Tarek Kababe is just like massive. He's like 300. He's like 100 pounds heavier than everyone else in the tournament, and he moves kind of well for how big he is. But he's short, and I don't know. I wouldn't pick him. I think he's a wait no sorry that's lightweight. He's a fucking light heavyweight. What the fuck? Maybe I got something mixed up. All right, so my favorite to win the tournament is Tariq Osaro, but Jamal Ben Sadiq is in it too, so I don't know how that's going to play out. And then on Glory Day 2 is a heavyweight matchup of Rico Verhoeven versus Artem Vakitov. Vakitov has like 2 fights. He was the champion at light heavyweight. I think he'll do okay against Rico, but I think Rico's just naturally bigger than him and has very good conditioning and pace for heavyweight. I think the only ones that can really give Rico trouble would be like the super big heavyweights like Jamal Ben Sadiq, or maybe I don't know. We'll see how that plays out. I think Rico's going to win that. But my favorite to win the tournament is Tariq Osaro. And then the winner of that fights, I guess, Rico. in there's a championship fight in December between the last two, I guess. Um, 32 heavyweights will have two opportunities to qualify for the final 8. Whatever. So that's what's going on with Glory Kickboxing. It's just it's down to an 8-man tournament for the heavyweight Grand Prix, and there's also a good fight between Rico Verhoeven and Artem Vakyutov next month on June 13th and 14th on their 100th pay-per-view. Shout out Glory Kickboxing. They're very underrated, probably the most underrated professional fighting organization in my opinion. Just the amount of high-level strikers that are in that organization and also have come from that organization, like Israel Adesanya, Alex Pereira, Cedric Doumbé. A ton of people have come over to MMA from Glory Kickboxing, and it's just not. I mean, for the people that enjoy striking in MMA, they want to see people stand and bang like in MMA. Check out Glory Kickboxing. There is no wrestling. Like they can tie up and clinch to cause a break, but it's literally all kickboxing and knees. They can't throw elbows. That's the only thing that's kind of weird about it, because they don't want people getting cut up. But they can throw punches, kicks, and knees. So it's like really good striking. Some of the best strikers in the world in Glory Kickboxing. I don't know why it's so underrated. Boxing, I'll go pretty quick. Just recent fights that have happened. Was all those like a lot of the big names around like 130 to 140s had a tournament in Times Square. Not a tournament, but just a lot of big names fought on a card in the middle of Times Square, which is actually pretty cool to have it. I don't know if I'd want to box in an outdoor event though. I feel like inside an arena would be better. I don't know how they controlled ticket sales and people coming, or if it was just open to the public. I don't know. Seems like that would be a logistical nightmare to put a ring in the middle of Times Square and do a boxing match. But so it was a lot of big names. It was like Ryan Garcia, Devin Haney, Teofimo Lopez, Rolly Romero. A lot of them had the only of those two that fought each other was Romero versus Ryan Garcia, and Romero won. He outboxed Ryan Garcia, neutralized his left hook pretty well, and landed his own. Dropped Garcia, I think, once or twice. Devin Haney had a very boring fight. He just ran. The commentators and all the pros that were watching, they're like just shitting on him, man. They're like, dude, he seemed like he was scared to be in there and just ran the whole time. He was supposed to have like a good showing after coming back from the whole debacle with losing to Ryan Garcia last year. Ryan Garcia was on PEDs. So he's supposed to come back and be like, give a good showing of himself, but he seemed like he was tentative. He was having flashbacks of getting dropped a bunch by Ryan Garcia left hooks. So it's kind of a weird, the waters are weird around like 130s and 140s. There's a lot of good matchups. There's a lot of good fighters, but the matchups are kind of confusing because like a big fight would have been the rematch between Devin Haney and Ryan Garcia, but Garcia lost, and Devin Haney had a fucking terrible performance. So it kind of like, I mean, even though Devin Haney won, I think they both kind of fucked up the bag on that. That would have been the biggest fight to make. But I think there's a lot of matchups around lightweight that can be made, and like whatever's above that. I can't remember. Featherweight or something. There's just a lot of people there. There's like Tank, Lomachenko, Teofimo, Shakur Stevens, Keyshawn Davis, Richardson Hitchens, and then all those guys that fought at Times Square. So there's a lot of like talent around that, within that weight range. Um, it's just about getting those fights together to happen. And then the biggest fights upcoming in boxing are, um, without a doubt, the first off, it's Alexander Usyk versus Daniel Dubois. It's a rematch. There was a very controversial blow, kind of on or below the belt, that Dubois thought was a legal shot and should have ended the fight based on how much time Alexander Usyk took during the break of like staying on the ground and adjusting his low blow protector. But it was ruled a low blow. I think it was on the line. I would not say it was a legal shot. I think I'd side with it. I side with what the ref called, because there is no point in argument, because that's what the ref deemed it to be in the moment. In a replay, it seems like it kind of hits just below. Maybe it in the motion of it coming up, maybe hits the cup area of the low blow protector and lands like just below the belt line, on the belt line, pretty low on the belt. So it looked kind of like a low blow. I'm not mad at the call. I agree with the ref and how everything was ruled. And Usyk went on to stop Dubois, I believe. I believe he put him down with like a jab. With a southpaw jab, I believe is what sat Dubois down, if I remember correctly. But they're going to rematch, and to settle that whole bullshit. Dubois has done a really good job, because like I thought it was kind of I get them complaining about it and being mad about it, because it was kind of a hard shot to make a judgment on. But regardless of how he lost the first fight, since then he's done a really good job of like the fight with Joshua. Like he's just increased his really just his fight against Joshua, I think, was a great showing for him, and makes him like the most interesting fight in the division. So they're going to settle that. I think Usyk wins again. I would say decision. I wouldn't say stoppage. I don't know. He might stop him, though. Maybe he will. If he does stop him, I think it'd be late rounds, like round 8, 9, maybe. 7 through 9, I would say. Could be later. Who knows? But, and then the biggest fight is Terrence Bud Crawford versus Canelo Alvarez in September in Las Vegas, which I'm surprised it's in Las Vegas. It's going to be the first TKO is the company, also the name of the company that owns the UFC and WWE. So we're in good company. This podcast is only owned by me, but we have the same name, TKO. So Dana White's, this is like their first partnership with Saudi Arabia on a boxing match, and it's the biggest one probably in a long time. Oh wait, before we get to Terrence Crawford and Canelo Alvarez, other huge fight, which is my favorite matchup of the 3 big fights coming this year, is the trilogy fight of Dmitry Bivol versus Artur Beterbiev, and who knows how that's going to go. I would still say I've picked Bivol in the first 2, but who knows? It's 1-1. Bivol won the last one, so I'm not quite sure. I'll have to figure out who I'm gonna go with. But I'm gonna go with Bivol, because I just like his style. He's got the literally textbook Russian boxing style, and but who knows? Beterbiev might come out guns blazing, mad that he lost the second matchup. But we'll see how that plays out. I think that's the most entertaining matchup to me. Well, Bud Crawford versus Canelo obviously is the biggest star matchup. But as far as like evenly matched skill levels and like a good ass fair fight, because both of those guys fight in that weight division. So that's what interests me is like an unstoppable force of Artur Beterbiev versus just like a a jackhammer fucking thudding technician like Dimitri Bivol. So that matchup's just interesting to me. We'll see how that plays out. The because Bud's moving up. The Bud matchup, he's moving up so much weight, you know? Canelo's just naturally so much bigger than him, just weight-wise. But who knows? We'll see how that goes. Because I do think Bud has a very good jab, and he's good at controlling the tempo and exchanges of the fight. I think he's good at controlling the fight. But Canelo is also just slick. I mean, they're both slick as fuck. I think if Canelo can just push the pace on him, keep his head moving, and just really put just like an aggressive Mexican style pace on him, thudding to the body. Even if Bud's hands are up, just kind of trying to walk him down and bully him. You know, Bud's just gonna have to keep that jab on overtime and trying to like get his respect where he can, landing good clean shots. But I think Canelo's just a little bit bigger and tougher. But we'll see. I don't know. I don't know how that's gonna go. Maybe Bud surprised me against Earl Spence. Fucking put Earl on his ass several times. I mean, that didn't even seem like a fair fight. And I thought it was gonna be closer than what it was. That one. But Bud's a fucking bad motherfucker. So we'll see how he does against Canelo. You know, maybe Canelo's declining in his age. It's just his last big payday, maybe. Then he'll hang up. Who knows? Who knows what's going to happen? All right, so that's boxing. The big three fights coming up: Usyk versus Dubois, Bivol versus Beterbiev, and Canelo versus Terrence Bud Crawford. Exciting. Those are three bangers, man. And we'll talk about the UFC a little bit. Fights that have happened and fights coming up. So I think I haven't talked too much about Volkanovski versus Lopez last month, and that was an amazing fight. Great fight. Good decision. I'd love to see it again. I do think Volkanovski won that one. He looked just like vintage Volk. A lot of people were picking Lopez, and I was like, nah, I think we might see vintage Volk here. He's had some time off to recollect, and it really just looked like the old Volk, so that was good to see. And Lopez was just game. He's a game fighter. He's always down to bang, and I'd love to see that fight again. It's very entertaining, very close matchup. Paddy Pimblett kind of surprised me against Michael Chandler. I was thinking Chandler might win that one. But I was like, maybe Chandler will be too sloppy, too aggressive. But Pimblett looked good. I think he really upped his stock on that. Yair Rodriguez, man, he fucking beat the shit out of Patricio Pitbull. That was a tough matchup for your first fight in the UFC. But being, having the pedigree and legacy that he had in Bellator, being a multiple time champion, they were like, we'll give him a top matchup. Let's see if he's ready to contend for the belt here in the UFC. They gave him Yair Rodriguez, and Yair said, nope, I don't think so, bro. Yair is top tier though. Like he I mean, he's top 3 in that division, period, in my opinion. Um, Another fight that was in that division was Bryce Mitchell versus John Silva. Silva is an animal, dog. He's working his way. He'll be in. I think he's in the top 10 now. He definitely earned it after that performance. I mean, that dude's a fucking monster. So I'm excited to see how he plays out in the in that division, working his way up. Some people are saying Yair versus Silva would be the fight to make since they both won on that card, and I was like, that's a big jump. But I'd pay money to watch that. Guarantee you that. The next card was it was a free card. It was on ESPN. It was Ian Gary versus Carlos Prates. And Gary did what Gary does, outpointed, had a clean fight. Prates had a moment at the very end of the fight where he had Gary on skates, and Gary was just fighting to survive, and Prates just couldn't. He couldn't just make it happen. He had Gary hurt, and a lot of times people either like slow down or they just like fight for they if you got somebody hurt on the ground, it's just, to me, all you should be worried about is volume, 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 volume. Like if I throw like 15 very light punches and like 10 of them land while you're hurt, they don't even have to be hard punches. If I'm just landing a lot of volume on a hurt opponent, the ref feels that pressure. He's going to call the fight. You don't have to like load up and just miss power shots or like try to wrestle for a better position. Like I heard Roy Nelson always said whenever he had somebody like that or in a compromised position like that, he would verbally count out strikes as he was just literally tapping people, punching them on the head. So like the ref could hear him be like 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. Literally just verbally counting how many times he's punching this person. And I think it should all be volume when you have somebody like that. I mean, you have to land the shots too. But if they're like crumbled up on the ground, just punch their arms, punch their hands, just volume, 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 volume. The more volume you're throwing, the more likely the ref's just gonna be like, all right, stop. He can't defend this. You're just making it rain shots on him. The best fight on that card was Randy Brown versus Nicholas Dalby. That was a banger fight. It was a great KO by Randy Brown, but Dalby was game, man. They both earned fight of the night, so they both got paid well for it. It's a great fight. One of the most entertaining fights so far this year. And yeah, so that was that card. Did I miss a fight? No, there wasn't. Okay, that fight was later on. Corey Sandhagen versus Davis Figueiredo. Figueiredo tore something in his knee. They were in like a 50-50 position, and he leaned up, which is what you're not supposed to do. And Corey just came forward with it and kind of tore his knee. Renier de Ritter, knee to the body on Bo Nickel. Fucking put a little speed bump in that hype train. Bo Nickel is going to be amazing, though. You can't hold that against him. He's still very new to the sport. He's young. He's 7-1 now. He's going to be even de Ritter said he was like, I'm glad I got to fight him now and not in 3 years, because Bo Nickel's going to be a beast in 3 years. So it's hey, they were rushing him. So that was a good experience for him to have. Maybe that eases some pressure off of him, so he can like continue to develop his game now without so much scrutiny and eyes on him. So maybe it'll be a blessing. And de Ritter's a fucking problem, man. He's coming. I think he's going to fight maybe Robert Whittaker next. That's a good matchup. What fights? All right, so we're working our way up. Okay, yeah, so the fight card last weekend. Not going to lie. I heard the main event was a good fight. I was so tired, so I went to bed like in round 2 of JDM versus Bilal Muhammad, but JDM squeezed out what seemed to be a close decision. I think it was like 3-2. Most people's scorecards. I heard it was a good fight though. I was just literally so tired. I couldn't stay up, so I fell asleep. Valentina Shevchenko won a pretty close one, according to some, but I thought Valentina won it pretty clearly. The fight of the night to me was Zahabi versus Jose Aldo. Aldo looked great up until like the very end. Zahabi just was kind of putting it on him. He cut Aldo's forehead open with a good elbow. Almost finished the fight, and they gave it to Zahabi. It was very close. I kind of thought Aldo won the first. I don't know. I think the round that was in decision would be 2. And I was like, I don't know. I thought Aldo might have won that one too. But round 3 was kind of like a 10-8. How bad. Aldo started well, but he got really fucked up towards the end and almost lost the fight. But Aldo dominated round 1, and I thought he kind of won round 2. I'd have to watch it back. So I was like, that one's kind of a hard one to score. But I'm not mad that they gave it to Zahabi. Aldo retired. He was like, he couldn't make weight. He missed weight on that one, so they bumped it up to featherweight. And Zahabi he was like, I'll fight up a weight class. I don't give a shit. So respect to him. Natalia Silva fucking worked Alexa Grasso, man. Natalia Silva's like the fucking Energizer Bunny, dude. She fucking just bounces around the ring, kicking and punching. She's a fucking animal. So it'd be interesting to see her fight for the title soon. I think she's up next. I was watching it and I was like, yeah. I was sitting with my wife and I was like, that chick's gonna hold the belt soon. I don't know. Sometimes I just spit random knowledge to my wife. Like she doesn't give a shit about MMA. She's like, I don't care. And the other fight on that card was Benoit Saint-Denis versus a guy who maybe had like 2 fights in the UFC. I don't even recognize his name. Propolik. He's like 18-9. He was 18-8 at the time, I guess. And Saint-Denis won by round 2 submission, but I did not think he looked good. Like a lot of people kind of were pushing him up for like a title match before he fought Dustin Poirier. But even Dustin Poirier kind of exposed this. But there was moments in this fight where I feel like his striking, I feel like any good boxer in that division will clean up Benoit Saint-Denis pretty easily. There's something about, he just kind of operates in striking distance like he's not expecting punches. Like sometimes he'll just be walking forward and like not reacting to punches and strikes and movements that like I think most people with good striking instincts would at least be aware of some sort of danger or something coming. He gets hit with shots sometimes, like he just isn't paying it. Like he just doesn't. I guess he just doesn't see them coming or something. I don't know. But Dustin Poirier put him out because he'll be trying to like, he wants to clinch and grab you, but he'll just like hang out in front of you sometimes way too long. It's like, dude, you're gonna get punched in the fucking face. At least try to like close the distance or something. Like, I don't know. But I did not think his performance looked good. And I think he called out I forget who he called out. I think he called out Gamrot. So he's calling out grapplers. He's I mean, if you put him against a top striker again, like Dustin Poirier, I think he gets knocked out. Like anyone that has like Justin Gaethje, I think knocks him the fuck out. So I think the strikers, the guys at the front of the division that are strikers, are just going to put BSD out cold. Because I think something about his striking, boxing IQ is just questionable to me. The fight card tonight is Gilbert Burns versus Morales. I think Morales is going to win. He's undefeated, but this is like, I think, his biggest fight to date. I think his first main event too. Gilbert Burns is a tough seasoned motherfucker, so we'll see how that goes. Paul Craig versus Rodolfo Beato. That's a good fight at light heavyweight. That's a tough one. I'm not even gonna make a pick. I would take Rodolfo, but I would keep it striking. I wouldn't try to get on the ground with Paul Craig as much as possible. Those are like the two main ones that are interesting to me. I'm looking at the prelims to see if there's anything cool. Thiago Moises versus Jared Gordon. That might be tight. We'll see about that. Um, but yeah, that's all I really care about on that card. Um, so the pay-per-view coming up June 7th. Marab versus Sean O'Malley. I'm taking Marab again, unless O'Malley lands a good lucky shot or just a good strike and is able to put Marab out. Marab's just a fucking freight train, so I think Marab takes that one. Kayla Harrison versus Juliana Pena. I got Kayla Harrison. I think she'll dominate that one as well. So I think we're going to see two dominant grappling victories in the main and co-main for the belt. Kelvin Gastelum versus Joe Pyfer. That one got rescheduled a few times. We'll see how that plays out. I would go with Joe Pyfer. Just younger, you know. I think maybe how old is Kelvin? Kelvin's only 33. He's got a lot of miles on him, though. I don't know. That's an interesting matchup. If Kelvin's speed and experience play a factor, I think I picked Kelvin to win last time off of just speed and experience. So maybe I'll stick with that. But I don't know. If Pyfer lands a shot on, he's got like 6 inches on Kelvin Gastelum. Kelvin is 5'8", and Joe is 6'2". So it's a tough matchup. But Kelvin's used to fighting tall people. That's what he's always done. Marlon Vera versus Mario Batista. That's a good matchup. I'd take Cheeto on that. Cheeto Vera. Azamat Mirzakhanov versus Johnny Walker is also a good matchup. Mirzakhanov, I think he's that guy who's like a really decorated wrestler. He's 14-0, if I'm remembering correctly. But I'd give that to Johnny Walker if he can make it a striking match. We'll see. Another fight on that card: Vicente Luque versus Kevin Holland. I like that. I like that matchup. I think I'd take Kevin Holland. I don't know. That's tough, actually. Maybe I'll take Vicente Luque, actually. I'll take Kevin Holland. Then there's the UFC card, which I wish was a little more decorated than it is. Not too fond of the card, but the main and co-main, I'll take Rose Namajunas versus Miranda Maverick. I'll take Rose just because I like her more. And then Buckley versus Usman is tough, but fuck, I think I'll go with Usman. I don't know. I think I'll go with Usman, but maybe that's a bad pick. I'm thinking Usman. The week after is Jamal Hill versus Khalil Roundtree. That's a banger. I'll take that's a fucking tough one to pick also. I don't like picking these. So I guess I'll go with Khalil Roundtree. Just based off of how they both fought Alex Pereira. I think Khalil, I don't know. You can't just base it off of their performances against Alex Pereira. But that's like their two most recent ones. Jamal is coming off 2 losses though. He lost to Pereira and Yuri. So I'll go with Roundtree, but maybe Hill gets back in the win column. The co-main is Fiziev versus Baja Mendez. That's a banger. And I'm going to take Baja Mendez. I think he has a height advantage. Yeah, he's 6'2" to Fiziev's 5'7". So that's going to be a huge factor in why I'm taking Baja Mendez. But That is a gangster ass matchup. Um, and then another pay per view at the end of next month is Taporia versus Oliveira. I'm taking Taporia. I think he's coming for the belt, and he's gonna get it. I got Taporia by KO. Ooh. Uh-oh. And then the co-main is Kai Car France versus Pantoja. I like this matchup. I'm gonna go with Alejandro Pantoja just because I think he's better. That's what. Dariush versus Moicano. I mean, this card is stacked. It's International Fight Week. Dariush versus Moicano is a banger. I mean, every fight on this card is a fucking banger. I'm so excited for this one. I'll go with Moicano. Um, that one could go either way though. And Brandon Royval versus Manal Cop. That's a tough one to pick. Also, I guess I'll go with Royval. Or should I go with Manal? Yeah, I'll go with Royval. Costa versus Roman Kopylov. I'll go with Costa just because I think he's fought more high level talent. I think he's hit or miss on how he shows up to fights. I don't know, the Costa that showed up and fought Yoel Romero is very different than some of the Costas we've seen recently. So it kind of depends on how he shows up for that fight. Gregory Rodriguez versus Jack Hermanson. I want to know what the odds are on this fight because I think Rodriguez should be slightly decently favored. If not, there could be a money opportunity on that. I think Rodriguez is very underrated. So that's a banger card. And then the pay-per-view coming up in July is I won't go through all of it. I'll just do the main event. It's Dustin Poirier versus Max Holloway. I think Poirier gets the win again. I think he's 2-0 against Max. At 45 and 55, I think. And their fight at 55, I mean, Poirier, they're both great boxers, but Poirier just kind of made it clear it's like, hey, I'm the best boxer and I'm supposed to fight at 155. You're more of a 45er. That's kind of like what it felt like when they fought. And then a fight, I'm just going to skip to the next pay-per-view, which is Dricus du Plessis versus Khamzat Chimaev, which could be very interesting. I'm going to go with Dricus du Plessis because this motherfucker just finds a way to win against everybody. I always think he's going to lose, but this is the first time where I'm like, nah, I think he's going to win. Because if he can weather the storm of the first round against Khamzat is notorious for coming out the gates like a fucking madman and getting you to the ground and choking people out pretty quick. But if anyone can stand up to it, I think Dricus has the best chance. And like Gilbert Burns showed, if you do stand up to it, and same with Usman, if you do withstand the rush of Chimaev, you might see that in round 2, 3, and then definitely into the championship rounds that his gas tank kind of disappears. You know, he kind of burns himself out, empties the tank early on. So I think Dricus has a good chance at, if anyone's going to weather the storm and beat Khamzat in the later rounds, it's going to be Dricus. But maybe Khamzat gets him to the ground and chokes him the fuck out in the first couple minutes. Who knows? We'll see how that goes. So that's just the state of the union. The pound for pound rankings for UFC. Islam, number 1. He's moving up to fight JDM for the belt later this year, most likely. I think he takes the belt at 170. But we'll see. I don't know. That's a big 15-pound weight jump. But I think that's really Islam's. Maybe Islam will look better because he's not cutting so much that he's on death's door, you know. John Jones is number 2. We'll see him fight Aspinall hopefully later on this year. I'm assuming November at Madison Square Garden. That's what I'm predicting. But we'll see. It seems like the UFC loves to do a November MSG card, and it's usually pretty big. And last year was John Jones versus Stipe, and usually like the biggest main event of the year is then, or around International Fight Week in the middle of the year. Ilia Topuria is number 3. He's fighting Charles for the belt after Islam vacated. Marab, he's fighting Sean O'Malley. Dricus du Plessis, he's fighting Khamzat Chimaev. Magomed Ankalaev. We'll see what's happening at 205. There's been some back and forth with Pereira. Pereira's trying to get that rematch done. They're trying to figure something out. I don't know. Volkanovski, we'll see who's around for him. A rematch with Diego Lopez wouldn't be a bad idea, but there's a lot of good talent that he could fight. Maybe Yair Rodriguez, who knows? Also, Bellator got rid of. They didn't sign back Patchy Mix, which he's going to come over to the UFC and be a contender immediately. Patchy Mix is one of the best in the game. I thought that was crazy that PFL Bellator didn't re-sign him. I guess he didn't want to sign. Kind of like with the Pitbull situation where he was having a hard time getting a fight, so he wanted out. Maybe that's what it was. So Pantoja at 125. I'm going through weight classes now and picking out who I think is the best to dethrone the current champion. Pantoja at 125. I think Moreno really still is the best option. I don't know. He's fighting Kai Kara France, so we'll see how that goes. But I think Moreno is still the top. Brandon Royval could also be. Who knows? But I think Moreno would be my best bet at defeating Pantoja. But I do think Pantoja is the best of that division. So I just think Moreno would have the best chance out of the contenders. Marab, another one that I think is the best in the division. The only fight I would like to see a rematch of really would be Umar Nurmagomedov or maybe Corey Sandhagen. I think Corey might be up next, maybe. I don't know. We'll see how that goes. But I would like to see Corey Sandhagen, but more so Umar Nurmagomedov. I think Umar is the best matchup for Marab. But Marab's gas tank is just a problem for everybody. So it's hard for me to see someone dethroning Marab, but maybe Umar has the best chance. I like Corey Sandhagen a lot, though. I think Umar might be a better matchup. Alexander Volkanovski at 145. Best matchups. Diego Lopez, really, and Yair. Oh, Mozavar Ivolev is probably due. I think he's undefeated. So I think maybe they'll offer up either Yair or Movzar. Ivolev might be due. I think he's undefeated. Yeah, he's 19-0. His last fight was against Aljamain Sterling, and he won that. So maybe he's due. But I'd like to see Yair also. So give Movzar his shot. I think he's been kind of complaining for a while. So maybe he's due a shot. And I think Volkanovski beats Movzar. Unless, I don't know, maybe Movzar can grapple the fuck out of him and prevent that. So who knows? All right, 155. It still says Islam's the champion, but he's vacant. Topuria is fighting Charles Oliveira for the title. And then the next people knocking out. I mean, it's lightweight is so fucking intense. There's man, now they got Topuria in there. They got Charles Oliveira, Justin Gaethje, Max Holloway, Dustin Poirier, Dan Hooker, Gamrot, Pimblett. It's pretty stacked. The top 10 is pretty stacked. But I think Topuria beats Charles for the belt. And then maybe Gaethje fights next. Who knows? Welterweight, JDM got the belt. He's gonna fight Islam. I think Islam takes the belt, and then Shavkat Rakhmonov. He's due. Give that man a title shot. I think Shavkat takes the belt from. Maybe he takes the belt from Islam, dude. I never even thought about that matchup. Islam versus Shavkat. That's crazy. I'd love to see that fight. I think Shavkat takes the belt, though. I think he's a naturally bigger guy. Who knows? Dricus is fighting Chimaev. Imavov is a sleeper. He's the number one ranked guy, but I feel like he's kind of like secretly creeped up to the top of the division. His win over Adesanya was very impressive. But yeah, it's Dricus and Chimaev. And then after that, we'll see how it plays out. There's some good names up there. I mean, you could argue anyone in the top 5 could get a title shot. Really top 6, maybe top 5, really. Light heavyweights in a weird spot. They need to get Ankalaev versus Pereira booked or something. They're trying to figure that out. There's back and forth, yada yada. I don't know what's going on. Olberg versus Prohaska would be sick. They're 2 and 3 though. I don't know if that's gonna happen. Jan Blachowicz is still in there. You know, there's some people at 205, but really I don't know. I think the best shot at someone beating Ankalaev is Pereira. Or maybe Prohaska. I don't think Carlos Olberg could do it, but who knows? Heavyweight, everyone just wants to see John Jones versus Tom Aspinall. Just make it happen. Who cares about the rest of that division, dude? All right, so that kind of concludes the State of the Union on boxing, kickboxing, and mixed martial arts. If you're not into it, maybe you should try to get into it, or if you're looking to work out again, but you don't like lifting weights or doing cardio, try boxing. It's the funnest cardio you can do. It'll get you in great shape. I did a little workout today. I did some jump rope, some shadow boxing, and a double end bag work. Just working on fluidity, flowing through punches. I think I'm going to get more back into boxing than kickboxing. I just want to work on my hands. Boxing's my favorite one to do. Even when I'm kickboxing, I'm boxing heavy. I'm not throwing a lot of kicks. But yeah, we had a great shadow box today. Did some without weight, and then I got 1.5 pounds in each hand. And I feel like I like shadow boxing with that kind of weight. Really, a pound would be perfect. Because technically the gloves, like heavy bag gloves, are 16 ounces each, so they're like a pound. But yeah, when I have like nothing on my hands, I feel like my hands just fly. Like I'm so much faster without any weight at the end of my hands. But I like to do the double end bag with no gloves on, just because it really focuses on my accuracy, timing, hand-to-eye coordination. That double end bag is bouncing all over the place, and then I'm just sniping quick shots at it with my bare fist. So it really stresses like landing the shot clear, timing, speed. It's a trying to snipe a moving target, I really love the double end bag. It's one of my favorite additions to the gym that I've made this year. I've used it in the past. I just never got one for my gym. And I was like, you know what? I need to fucking get one, dude. That's such a good tool to use for just fucking pinpoint accuracy. Just fucking putting my bare knuckles on a bag that's flying around all over the place. Pop, 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 pop. Just fucking sniping it in the air. Jabs, crosses, and hooks. It's good training for like real life, like hand-to-hand combat and like just getting in a street fight. It's like most people are used to like throwing punches with gloves, and it's like going just bare knuckle on a double end bag. Like you're stressing your placement, your speed, like uh, accuracy, making sure you hit the bag clean with what you're trying to hit, doing it quick, doing it while the bag is moving. So you're trying to hit like a moving target, kind of like someone's skull. So I think the double end bag is underrated. I'm also worried that I'm gonna get in a street fight and someone's like, "You want to go, bitch?" And I'm just like, "Yeah, yeah, let's do this, motherfucker. All right, now give me 10 to 15 minutes to do an active warm up. I'm gonna do an active warm up in shadow box a little bit, and then I'll be ready to go." Because I'm so like, I'm a diesel engine. I need to get warmed up before I can really bang at like 100%. I mean, I'll swing on somebody out of the blue, but I'm so much better when I've done an active warm up, stretch, jump a little rope, shadow box a little, I got a little sweat going. All my muscles are warmed up and ready. My joints are ready. I've moved around. But you can't do that in a street fight. I can't take 10 to 15 minutes to do an active warm up and shadow box and jump rope. They'll be like, "What are you doing, pussy?" I'm like, "Dude, I'm like trying to talk shit while I'm getting warmed up. I'm like, "Oh, dude, I'm about to beat your ass so bad after I'm done shadow boxing and jumping rope." It's like trying to keep people on the edge of their seat, and like trying to keep him at bay while I warm up. Like, dude, I'm gonna beat your ass after I stretch my shoulder real quick, dude. Just warming up while talking shit still. Um, but yeah, I guess that concludes the pod. So, if you enjoy fighting, maybe you enjoyed this. But if you didn't, sorry. I'll be back to just talking about comedy and shit like that. But I felt like I needed I think a couple times a year I need to do an MMA, boxing, kickboxing heavy episode on just where we're at in the game, what's currently going on, my takes on things. Because that is part of the description of the podcast is I'm supposed to talk about that stuff. So that's what interests me. And I could talk about this shit forever. But I know some people will like it. Some people that are into the game. But most of the episodes I'll just be talking about what I've been doing lately and stand-up comedy and shit. But that's been the State of the Union. I appreciate your time. Go get a workout in. Do some dead hangs to failure. Um, get a pull-up bar, grab it, and just hold on. Just hang from the pull-up bar as long as you can until gravity rips your fingers from the bar and sends you down to the ground. Act like you're hanging on for your dear life. It's so good. I did 1 minute today. I did 3 minutes. I did 3 rounds of 1 minute each yesterday. You fucking get your grip strength jacked. Go do some dead hangs. Love you guys. Bye.